What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 16 of my poker vlog. First things first, I know it's been a long time since I put out a video. In fact, it's been about 3 months and some change. I'm pretty sure most of you probably assumed that I was done vlogging. Well, it turns out I just needed a break. Well, how come I didn't tell anybody I was taking a break? Well, that's because I didn't even know I was taking a break. But that's just the way it worked out. One of the reasons I took a break is because I haven't been playing as much poker. And that has been because of several reasons. The first reason is that at the end of springtime, there was some major stuff happening in the Houston poker scene. Namely, 2 of the biggest rooms got shut down by law enforcement. This put the future of Houston poker in a little bit of a question mark. Prior to this, over the last couple years, there had been many Houston clubs opening. They are easily visible from the roads, billboards, radio commercials, you name it. I don't want to go too far into what happened because you can pretty much find all the information online if you're curious. But basically, the district attorney of Houston decided when these clubs first started popping up that they wanted to investigate them. They did a multiple year investigation, which ultimately led to them raiding 2 of the most popular poker rooms, Post Oak Poker and Prime Social. Prime Social happens to be the place that I played the most poker at, and I actually vlogged there numerous times, as did Brad Owen. At first, people were concerned that these rooms were doing something additionally beyond having poker, that there was some kind of other legality problems. Turned out not to be the case. Really, the district attorney just had it in her mind that she wanted to go after poker rooms and challenge the fact that they were operating legally. Well, the good news is both of the suits were dropped against these 2 poker rooms. Essentially, the DA decided not to prosecute, and one of the reasons was they had somebody that was working for the DA that was also working for the poker rooms, so this led to a conflict of interest. So, unfortunately, we don't have a full declaration of legality for Houston poker like we would have liked, but we continue to hope that that's going to be what happens in the future. During all this, some of the poker rooms that were around decided to stay open. Other ones closed their doors. During this period, I didn't really play that much poker. It's not that I don't like any of these rooms. I actually do like some of them, but it was also kind of a good time for me to get into some other stuff that I've been needing to do. Namely, it's a very busy period at my day job. So I've been taking a lot of time to put in some extra hours there. And when I'm doing that, that is probably the time that I would normally set aside for the vlog. So the videos just weren't really in the cards. I did have some interesting things happen during the last 3 months. Went to the World Series of Poker in June. Played in my very first World Series event. I played in the Colossus. I did not cash. I pretty much made it to the end of day 1 and got out on, I think it was kind of a cooler. I ran into pocket aces on the button, raised, and then I jammed with kind of a smallish stack with ace king suited. I also played in some pretty big games while I was there. I was playing in the 5-5 PLO with a rock game at the Win and at the Aria. Also played some 5-10 at the Aria, and I played some 2-5 at the Aria. Results were not good. I think I ended up losing $3,000 or $4,000 while I was there. So once again, Vegas did not treat us well. I think I'm around minus 6,000 for my last 3 Vegas trips combined. So it's been a little rough for me there. Not really eager to go back. It's not that it's not a great place to go play. I always have a ton of fun, but the games are just not very good. The cash games during the World Series this year were even worse than they were last year. And I think if you watch Andrew Neme's vlog, you may have seen him talk about this. It seems that a lot of the more casual players have gone into the tournaments. The tournaments now have some pretty friendly structures that if you're in the tournament, you're probably going to last longer because the starting chip stacks are bigger. They've been expanded into many more days, or at least another day. So like 3-day tournaments are now 4-day tournaments. So if you're a casual player and you want to get some bang for your buck, the tournaments are now a really good way to do that. So I think my plan is next year, I'm going to go to the World Series, but I'm going to forego heavy cash game action like I usually do, and I'm going to play some tournaments. I don't really mind playing tournaments. I think they can be kind of fun. It's not my favorite way to play poker, but if I'm going to go to Vegas and try to bring some money home, which I've been pretty unsuccessful at lately, then I think I'm going to shift my focus to playing in tournaments. And the camera just f***ing died. Okay, well, I guess now is as good a time as any to talk about one of the newer clubs in Houston that I have played at a few times this summer. The name of the club is Freerolls Poker, and it's about 30 minutes outside of town on the west side. One of the things that I like about this club is they did a really great job of making the interior design really welcoming and makes you want to spend some time there and play poker. So let's talk about the action at Freerolls Poker. The action so far has been pretty good. I've played probably 3 PLO sessions and maybe 5 Hold'em sessions. The PLO sessions were good to great. I had one game that was super splashy, multiple 2K, 3K pots, stuff like that. Really fun game to be in. Lots of people just gambling it up, which is one of my favorite atmospheres to play in. The Hold'em game's a little bit on the nittier side, but actually still pretty good. There's generally at least a couple action players at the table, so I would definitely recommend checking it out whether you play PLO or play Hold'em. It might be a little bit out of the way if you are in the center of the city, but for me, who lives on the northwest side of town, it's pretty much about the same. If I want to drive into town or I want to drive out to Freerolls, it takes me about the same amount of time, and it's all pretty much easy freeway driving. So let's break down some of the hands we had in our last session at Freerolls. So I go ahead and buy in for $500. I believe that is the max buy-in, but they will also let you buy up to either 100% or some other percent of the big stack at your table. So in this hand, we are $300 effective. I'm on the button with King Jack suited. There's a couple limpers ahead of me. I go ahead and bump it up to 15. We get 2 calls from big blind and middle position. The flop is Queen, Queen 10 with 2 spades, giving us the second nut flush draw and an open-ended straight draw. The big blind leads out for 20 and the middle position player folds and the action is on us. So this is a hand that we could definitely raise. We have a ton of equity if the big blind calls, and we might get some folds. This particular player seemed a little bit tight, kind of fit or fold type player. So when he leads out on the flop against a raiser pre-flop, I'm kind of weighting his hand a little bit more towards value, but he definitely could have something like the nut flush draw. I opt for just a flat call. Like I said, I definitely think we could raise here, but I don't mind also calling every once in a while. The flop is a 5 of spades, giving us the second nut flush. Obviously, could have a boat, so maybe a flush isn't good, but I'm feeling pretty good about my hand at this point. The big blind checks. There is some chance that he has a better flush than us and is trapping a little bit. I think the donk bet on the flop makes it less likely that he flopped a boat. So I'm thinking it's probably pretty likely that he either has a queen or he's slow playing a better flush than us. I think that we do need to get some value if he does have a queen. So I go ahead and lead out for 50 and he calls. The river is a non-spade king. I actually don't think this is a very good card. We do block the king, So if he did have a hand like king, queen, he would have to have one of the last two kings in the deck. So unless he has a bigger flush, we probably have the best hand here. Again, he checks. I think he's going to have a lot of queens in this spot based on the way the action went. And so we need to try to size our bet in order to get maximum value off the times he has a queen. If he does have us beat, then so be it. The pot is 185 and he only has 225 left. I could try to put in a smallish bet, like about 100, and hopefully he calls with the queen. He does seem kind of fit or fold, but I also think that he probably is not going to let go of a queen in this spot. So I decided to size up. I go ahead and put him all in for 225. I know sometimes we're just going to lose, but I also think that he's going to call if he has a queen. Sure enough, he thinks for not very long and makes the call. He flips over queen 6. Apparently, he's not as nitty as we thought he was. So that was a pretty decent sized pot to start the night out with. We've now got our stack around $800. In this next hand, we call from the cutoff for 15 with 6-7 of clubs. And we get 5 players going to this flop. 5 players! That might seem crazy to some of you, depending on where you play. Here in Houston, 5 players is kind of just normal everyday hand. The flop is king, jack, 8 with 2 clubs. So we make a flush draw and a backdoor straight draw. It gets checked to us, and in hindsight, I would have liked a check here with 5 players. It's just, I don't think we have any fold equity, but I decide to go ahead and put down a bet of 60. The turn is a blank. The early position player checks, and we go ahead and check it back. The river is a 3 of clubs. We make a pretty small flush. The player checks to me, and now I definitely want to put out a bet here. I go ahead and bet 125. He thinks for a little bit, calls, and we show down our hand. He has ace 10. We win the pot. So he called us down with ace high. Very brave, but unfortunately it didn't pay off for him this time. This next hand we have pocket kings on the button. What a great place to have pocket kings. In front of us, tons of limpers. Limpers everywhere. Limp, 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 limp. So I go ahead and make it a healthy $25. The big blind raises to 60. Kind of a strange raise, but I'm sitting here like this. Up until the point that I realize he only has 150 behind. That part, not so great, but hopefully somebody else will call too. So I assume that when he puts in 25% or more of his stack, he's probably not going to fold to a jam. So I go ahead and just jam the rest in. He calls, and we're going to see a board. The board comes out. It doesn't look too bad until he flips his card up. 8, 9 of diamonds. He flopped the nuts. And we were pretty much drawing to a long shot at that point. Not much to say here. We got the money in with the best hand. We did exactly what we were supposed to do. And the poker gods did not smile upon us in return. So this is the last interesting hand of the night. We have ace queen offsuit in the big blind. It is straddled up to 6, and there is a raise to 15. There's a call on the button and a call from small blind. I want to go ahead and put in a 3-bet here, so I make it 60. The straddle calls and the button calls, so we're going 3 to the flop. The flop is king 6, 8 with 2 hearts. Not a very good flop for our specific hand, but it is a good flop for our range. So we need to continue betting. I go ahead and put out a bet of 50. It's a down bet, a small bet. It allows us to bet with more of our hands. And the straddle moves all in for 220. The other 2 players fold, and the action's on us. I don't think that there's much of a decision here. There's probably no reason to call. The only thing that we beat is a total bluff. And the only way we can improve against a pair of kings is with an ace. So our options are not looking so good at this point. So I go ahead and lay it down. So that about wrapped it up for our session at Freerolls Poker. We ended up with a profit of $575. Pretty good session for a 1-3 game. So I want to take a minute or two just to talk about future content and what's coming up. I'm definitely feeling a lot more motivated to do these vlogs right now, and I have a little bit of extra time now that the kids are going back to school, summer's over. And recently I've gotten into some new hobbies, and I'm probably going to share some of that with you. The first one is rock climbing. I haven't actually climbed a real rock yet, but there's this really cool rock climbing gym by my house, and I've been going there since about May, probably 3-4 times a week, and I'm loving it. So I'll probably include some of that from time to time. Let me know if you find that interesting at all, but it's probably gonna be in there anyways, but don't worry, it'll be brief. The other thing that I've been really interested in lately is backpacking. And it actually happened because my son started Boy Scouts and I started participating in his campouts, and I realized, hey, this is really fun. I actually really enjoy this. So I've been doing a bit of that. Did a trip to Enchanted Rock, did another trip to Lost Maples State Park, both beautiful parks in Texas. And I've got a pretty nice through hike scheduled for November. I'm going to be hiking the Outer Mountain Loop in Big Bend. It's about a 30 to 40 mile trail through the mountains and the desert in West Texas. So I'll probably also do a bit of vlogging about that. Who knows, maybe I can get in a poker night the night before and share some hands while I'm on the trail. We'll make it work somehow. As always, thank you for watching the vlog. If you want to help out, you can like and subscribe. These are things that help the channel grow. And also, if you have any feedback or you just want to say what's up, go ahead and toss a comment down below. I love reading them, and I usually respond to most. The reopening of Prime is just about a week and a half away, so I definitely will be there for that, and we'll probably do a vlog.